Good afternoon, everybody. I hope I am audible.
Yes,
And okay,
absolutely.
great, great. It's really a privilege having to hear Sunita Narayanji and to see that you are actually uh, you know taking the whole thing around on this topic today. I couldn't have been happier, really speaking, on something so relevant as enabling thermal comfort in mass housing, because we all know what the state of affairs are, and we've been reading, and we know your uh, exemplary work in climate change and issues with regard to everything that has to do with environmental management. And Anumita has really done a fantastic job preparing for this seminar and this workshop. But what I'll try and do is that first of all, I'll just give a brief overview of where we stand, what we think we people are, what we have done, and then come to the policy domain of what needs, what we've done, what we are doing, and subsequently then move on to what ideas can we take from this meeting today, because every organization like this, because I can quite see that we are close to about 550 people now, and something will come out of it, new ideas, questions, and we will try and absorb them and put it in within the policy framework so that we learn from each other. So to begin with, I'll just go through the PMAY. When we started in 2015, we really didn't know that this scheme is going to touch so many of us here in India. And with an initial target of about 1.87 crores, the demand survey stabilized at about 1.12 crore. And as of today, we've done about 107 lakhs already, very close to the target. And this can be achieved anytime, but because of uh, COVID, we've not been able to do meetings very often with the states. The total construction as of now is about 67 lakh houses being done, out of which about 37 lakhs is completed and delivered. So that's about it. The size of the scheme in terms of investments that the government of India has made is close to 80,000 crores, which has gone down already. We owe the state governments about 1.6, 1.8 lakh rupee over a period as they get completed in phases. Having said that, the state expenditure included and the expenditure of the beneficiaries would amount to about 6.5 lakh crore. So apart from the taking pride in the fact that we have been able to do this, one of the largest housing programs the world has ever seen, it also gives me an immense satisfaction that we have been able to turn the wheels of the economy in terms of providing employment, providing and asking and getting issues of cement and sand and hardware and plastics, and therefore the relevance of this thermal comfort is extremely important, because as we seek more and more material into these houses, we have to ensure that they are of a type and they are of a make which makes much more sense and complies to the green guidelines, whether it's GRU or whether the guidelines were issued by the CPWD. So this is also an appropriate time to discuss all this, because we have yet not crossed the river as yet, and almost like close to half the houses have to be built. And if there are any policy corrections, if there are certain more inducements that we can bring about systemic change, not only for the builders who are making it, but also for a large number of people who have to make within the beneficiary link category, where the people are encouraged to make houses on their own, I think we would have addressed a very important concern, because uh, I hardly need to reiterate here at this kind of a platform that housing itself leads to a lot of contribution in terms of both pollution and thermal discomfort, if I'm to say, and to address also the issue of climate change. So, coming to what we have been able to do both within PMAY and as a ministry, I wouldn't be able to talk too much about what the ministry has done, but since I've been a part of this, fairly, long period now, I can say that the urban missions that we are running right now, I'll just come to the PMAY a little later. The metro projects, if it is conceived that metro is better than the conventional modes of transport, then I must say that metro probably around 2014-15 stood close to about 250 kilometers or something for the whole country. And right now, if I remember the figures right, the total metro linkage with where the work is going on, it stands at more than 800 kilometers or perhaps even 150. which means that more metro would mean lesser cars, lesser buses on the roads, which probably means more comfort of traveling in a, this thing. But I really can't say much beyond that. Also, Amrut and smart city. Smart city also has led to a great deal of smart solutions in terms of management of information, in terms of controlled CCTV cameras where pollution, where issues like garbage dumping are addressed very well. So I think smart cities do also lead to addressing the issue of thermal discomfort as well as in the larger issue of climate change. Then we come to the Swachh Bharat mission, which has been one of the flagship programs of the government of India, where the issue of both climate change, environmental management have been addressed. Now coming to the PMAY, within the Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana, we initially itself we came out with a technology submission in which we tried to promote new technologies as well as research on new technologies, including that of mass thermal comfort. Uh, Once this was done, IIT Roorkee took up over some projects in which they came about with examples where we could do planning for walling, for flooring, for fenestration, as well as in various other deployments of EPS monolith structures where energy could be saved. And IIT Kharagpur and a couple of other IITs were made as within the hub and spoke model for us to be suggested on the kinds of technologies that we undertook. However, this went about with some limited success, and we came to the era when we did a global housing technology challenge, because given the fact that the number of houses that we had to make and the kind of pace that was required to achieve this. Also, given the fact that there is land, there is political will, there is financing, but we need new technologies for two very important reasons: is to meet the pace of expectations, to be able to deliver it on time, and also the delays essentially mean more and more environmental issues, more money getting stuck up in the chain, and delays do not help us. Therefore, we thought of doing a global housing technology challenge, which was done in 2018, sometime in 3rd and 4th of March. And the Honorable Prime Minister did grace the occasion and spent a lot of time, where 55 technologies from all over the world were eventually selected on the basis of speed, scale, delivery, and of course the green guidelines and its ability to absorb to Indian conditions was a very, very important factor when these were selected. Out of this, we then divided the whole technology challenge about 6 categories, and there was a state challenge with regard to policy framework, that we encourage the states to adopt these projects, and 6 states, namely UP and Jharkhand and Tamil Nadu, Gujarat, and Tripura, they all came in to adopt one technology each, and these will now be taken up as lighthouse projects, where new technologies which are completely green in terms of the indices that it have, in terms of energy that it saves, in terms of the material that is being used also is of a nature which will be very, very important in promoting the mass housing in a environmentally sustainable manner, and also ensuring that the thermal comfort is there, because we had this problem that new technologies tended to make certain houses warmer because of the use of material. So we weren't really sure whether, given the climatic issues of our country, suppose you have a house in Tamil Nadu or in Andhra Pradesh or even in the mainland North India, certain technologies may be very, very efficient for, say, for example, countries like Netherlands or Sweden, but will probably not be any good here because they tend to increase the temperature, or maybe there is a lot of, the quality of insulation is thinner, and it leads to certain discomfort, and there are other local issues involved. So we have selected these technologies on that front only, where these will be very relevant. These lighthouse projects, we have been named, we have named this as such because they will function as beacon, and they will initially begin with these technologies, and this will be later adopted by other people also. Another thing that we started was that we realized that only promoting the technology will not help. You need a vast number of people who are trained into using these technologies, who understand these technologies, because Eventually, it cannot be the builder who can get some technology just from abroad, because you need masons, you need architects, you need engineers who understand what they are doing, and whether mass thermal housing is, does actually go out as it is meant to be. Therefore, we started a course on vulnerability atlas and the seismicity and other aspects. And also, there's a course on which Shailesh Agrawal ji will be speaking in greater detail by the name of Navreet, where we fused all these 55 technologies in a very condensed form as a course material. And these will now be inaugurated in the month of October itself, because the whole course curriculum is ready, because the Honorable Prime Minister had desired that this be the construction technology year. And looking at that, these two interventions will help us a long way, because we've written to all the engineering students that both with regard to vulnerability, because we are a nation which has these issues of both seismicity, flooding, extreme heat, coastal areas and all that. Therefore, that is one requirement. And also to address heat and other issues of green technology, Navreet would be able to do this in a very big way. So this was another input insofar as technology and policy is concerned. I was quite happy to note that in Anumita's lecture, she had taken up the issue of technology innovation grant, because it is true that if these buildings are just made the way, they do come to be costlier at the moment, on account of the fact that volumes will reduce the costing, and we do not have that kind of a volume, at least in single projects as yet. And therefore, such people, those who come forward and take the risk, and they are encouraged to adopt these new technologies, do need some kind of a policy push also in terms of financing. Therefore, we have developed this whole policy framework where we promote 10% to the overall cost, whether it is for the ARHCs or for the lighthouse projects. And we are also in the process of discussing this for the larger issue of slums also, because they need to be sustainable. Perhaps there is something that we may be thinking on those lines too. But this 10% pretty much offsets the extra cost that may be entailed. Although we do feel that as volumes will increase, this will be taken care of. In ARHCs also, affordable rental housing complexes, we have clearly told that both FAR, FSI, TDR, and other concessions by the state government will be given, and room rents will be charged on commercial rate. But those are more programmatic details. I don't really think it really merges well with the issue of we are trying to address in thermal housing. But having said that, 10% technology grants will be applicable in the ARHCs also. Another issue that I wanted to take up from the policy framework point is that CPW pretty much is the legal authority to prescribe any building norm. And that way, the CPWD in the past 2 years have been taking massive strides in terms of assisting us in green technologies. And you'll be very happy to note that the bricks that they use now are compulsorily of fly ash or of AAC. They are lightweight bricks. And so that kind of a protocol of making bricks through old conventional technologies, where large amounts of industrial and climatic waste was generated, has been taken care of. And they did come out with a book also on sustainable practices of what green buildings are. And they are themselves now encouraging it in all their projects, where Gruha guidelines and whatever has been prescribed by the various authorities which govern this space of green technology are being taken care of. And when we did this Global Housing Technology Challenge, out of the 55 that we selected, 34 technologies have been prescribed by the CPWD as the mother of agencies. Because if somebody has to make a house in, say, for example, Patiala or maybe anywhere in the country, Patna, they need to take this up in a manner that it prescribes to the CPWD norm. Otherwise, engineers find it really difficult to make a house which is otherwise not prescribed by CPWD. Another input that I wanted to give is that within the Affordable Housing Program, AHP, out of the about 24 lakh houses, a vast amount, about close to 14-15 lakh houses, are being done with new technology. So clearly, the landscape is changing. But as Anumita pointed out, and as definitely you would be really concerned, is that does more new technology necessarily mean more thermal comfort? I am not, very certain about it, because we will have to cross the river before we actually see how it's happening. But what Anumita said actually struck a chord, is that when we say that the guidelines of ARST has been issued, we need to say this also, that thermal house, comfort has to be taken into account, and only then the TIG will be applicable. Because for a TIG, Technology Innovation Grant, to become more applicable and more acceptable, I think this insertion as one of the amended clauses probably only adds to our cause in a much better way. And the builders are in any case getting a technology. They might as well take a technology where thermal comfort is addressed. So that bit of 10-15 lakhs that we've done, and the ones that we are about to do, will also, and pretty much when the PMAY does something, it is also adopted by other state missions, other state programs, because willy-nilly there is this learning approach, and when the government of India takes up a program, they'll very much want to do it. So that's about it. One last intervention that I wanted to say, because I'm trying to see it as separate blocks all merging together. We just finished a meeting last week with the MNRE, the solar energy people, and you would be very happy to note that PMAY at the moment has about 11 lakh square meters of roof space available already. By another 1 year time of the buildings that we've already sanctioned, 34 lakh square meter would be available. We have entered into an agreement with them, and shortly perhaps maybe we will look at it as a program. This roof space we will make available to the MNRE, who through their own systems will take over these roofs and add and give some rent on behalf of the roof space to the people, those who stay there, in terms of street furnitures or in terms of the lighting that is required for public spaces. But this solar energy has a potential of close to 110 megawatts, which will be coming out of this in the 280 projects that we've already done. And there would be many, much more. So I see that there is a working in silos probably didn't help. And when ministries talk to each other, our roofs were of no use anyway, because there would be tanks and there would be dirt all around. Us giving them roof space, they encouraging solar technology, is adding to the purposes, and it addresses the larger issue of the waste not going there and solar energy being used in a big way. So that is another policy intervention that we are about to do. But all in all, I think the ministry, through its program under PMAY, has been really conscious about the fact that we needed to do this well and good. About the technology mission was there. We did give financial incentives. We've ensured that the new technologies happen. And what we've done actually is that we've told all the state governments that for PMAY, you shall have neutral tenders, because there was a predilection and there was a positive bias for old technologies. But now they say, okay, we will take up a new technology, and if it suits our requirement and the costing is there, because costing is a bit of an issue there, because generally they may go up about above 20% or around that cost, but more the volume, there is a cost reduction. And there are certain state governments which have done massive work, whether it's Telangana, Andhra Pradesh, Madhya Pradesh, Maharashtra, but there are certain state governments which have not moved there. So that is another area where we have to work. And BMTPC is one organization which is working with the School of Planning and Architecture in training people also. So academically, financially, policy-wise, merging with other ministries are some of the initiatives that we have taken in PMAY to promote not only new technology, but also to address the issue of mass housing in from the thermal comfort point of view. But I am particularly excited that the issues that will be raised today will help us focus on issues that CSE brings about, because what you say will be taken seriously is something that I can really promise, and we'll certainly work on it. And now I'd like to hear other people also. Thank you very much.